Interns at Adobe do not make coffee, we file patents.
And Adobe has the highest patent to employee ratio. We look at a few things. We look at values. We look at, are you a person who can collaborate? Are you somebody who's creative? Are you somebody who will own the outcome?
I wanted to know what is the hiring process.
Been hearing that we should be honest when we are giving the answers in the interview. Should we be answering answers that are pleasing to the ears or hearts but honest?
But just imagine the scenario if AI takes over and people become agnostic, right? Where would India stand?
Thank you. Thanks for having me and Mino here. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you. I'm Jerin and I lead the university hiring and programs at Adobe. I joined Adobe in 2016. What do I talk about my career? I was not the studious one. I have an elder brother. He was the one good at studies. I was always into sports. So I loved playing basketball. And after my 10th, looking at my scorecard, my parents told me, Jerin, if you want to play, you continue playing. We are sure you're not going to study properly. With luck, I landed a recruiter job in a company called Allianz in Trivandrum. You might have heard about the company, the Bajaj Allianz company. The software development part of the company was outsourced to India in Trivandrum. And I joined that company in 2011. It was a 6 months contract job. Right now, I am in Adobe. I am leading a team of 10 people. I every year host around 400 interns, 250 full-time graduates, and I'm at a manager position at Adobe. So though I had a different path in mind, doesn't always mean that you can be successful only at one path. I chose something else. So what I did was I worked hard. I just trusted the process. Whatever came my way, I grabbed it with both hands. And I am where I am right now at Adobe, managing the university hiring and working with people of your age.
About me, I was a pretty good student during my engineering days, and I studied in Mumbai. Good as in आपकी उतना अच्छा नहीं, लेकिन थोड़ा बहुत, right? I mean, like just about that. I had a deep passion towards space research, and I always wanted to either join NASA or ISRO, and that was my typical goal. And I went on to join something called ACRE, which is Advanced Center for Research in Electronics in IIT Bombay. And then I said, let me work here and then ultimately do something crazy enough that I land something in ISRO or in NASA. And it went pretty well for the first 8 months. I did quite a bit of kick-ass work, helped the India Defense, the Air Force and the military for decompressing, encrypting the images to a particular level that encryption and decryption was very tough, right? So getting it there and was pretty acknowledged by the government as well then, and I thought everything is set and going well. And then my leader said, hey Mino, I don't think you're cut out for research work. And I was like, I mean, after 8 months of doing what I did and doing it so well, suddenly, and his name was Dr. Shabir Merchant, so Shabir looks at me and says, I don't think you're cut off for this. I think you should go back to your corporate offers that you have and pick one of those offers and pick it up. My room in my house was completely filled with all spacecraft launches, thrust, escape velocity, anything to do with space. And I remember getting back home. I went back into my room, I closed my room, I tore down every poster in my room. I just pulled everything down and then I sobbed and sobbed and sobbed, right? That night I sobbed, I didn't sleep. So then I went back calling all my folks who had made offers. So there was a company called Texas Instruments, I don't know whether they still hire or not, but they had given me an offer and I didn't join them for 8 months, 9 months. I called them back saying, sir, they said, thank you, be where you are. I said, okay. Then I had BCG was setting up there in India and they had made an offer to me. I called them back and they said, thank you. Then I had something called Wipro Consulting Services, which was a consulting arm of Wipro. I called them up, they said, come tomorrow. I said, what? And then I went and joined. That's how I started my career, being a consulting guy. My job was around supply chain consulting. Don't ask me how an engineer landed up there, but I was made to go to different customers and understand how supply chain works for them and tell them how it should work. No clue. But I used to travel every day from one office to another, and ultimately I was made to consult a retail company called Dell way back then, and that's when I got introduced to this gentleman called Rajan Anandan. I don't know if you have ever known about him or spoken to him, but he's a great guy. And then he said, why don't you consult and do some work on HR for Dell? And that's how I started my journey into HR consulting. Then I said, this space looks pretty good, let me try. So an engineer who wanted to become a space researcher ultimately moved into sales consulting, then moved into HR consulting, then became an HR practitioner. I went on to join HP Inc. They got me on board for solving a particular problem, which I thought was a solid problem to solve, and I solved it for them. 2.5 years into HP, Adobe came knocking, and I said, let me work here. I've been with Adobe, it's going to be 5 years. So I've been working for like 17 plus 5, 22 years. Right, so I don't know if you all are 22 years old, but I've been working pretty much ever since some of you haven't been born. So yeah, so that's been my journey. I think, I don't know what you would love to know, but I would really love for questions to come on board, and then, I can help you with understanding a few things. Your questions can be from anything, because I've got Jerin here who's got an answer to every question, right? So, but make it interactive, make it useful. Is there something pressing on your mind that you want to know?
Currently I'm just studying, so I'm just studying to gain knowledge. Okay, and at the end of my 4 years, when I'll be studying for placements, like whatever I have done, am I capable enough for both, like India and outside India? But is there something extra which I need to do for outside India?
Adobe is, we are like a little under 30,000 people globally, but we are a little close to $300 billion in terms of just our market cap and stuff. And we're expecting to be a $500 billion company very soon and grow further from there. We are basically 3 different clouds, right? We have one cloud called the creative, we have another called the document, and we have something called the experience. India has got the entire document cloud run out of India, right? As a product, as everything. Even creative 60% of the total product-led growth happens from India, and so is with experience. The kind of people that I hire for making my product, regardless of agnostic of whether it's in Romania or London or US or India, they're the same. So they all have to meet a particular benchmark. Again, Jerin was sharing some time back, even within India, we don't distinguish between somebody who comes from an IIT or somebody who comes from a non-IIT. Everybody gets the same stipend of 1 lakh, right? We don't really distinguish between that. We give the same amount because we need consistency and importance about your skill and how and what you bring. So globally and India-wise, there is no difference, right? In terms of who we hire, right? Because the products get made out from here, right? What do we look for when we hire? You have to be smart. You really need to be the best of the breed. I don't know how many do we evaluate every year, but we get, for a program called She Codes, we get sometimes around 80,000 applicants and we hire 200 out of it, right? So we make no bones about this fact that we are very, very choosy. But ultimately, if you work for a company like Adobe, it's a prestige tag. You go to Noida and say you're working for Adobe, you get deep respect, right? The people are like, Adobe, right? I mean, it's a different kind of value that you get. But to get in is not easy. I'm not saying, all of you apply, you all will get through, but it's a good place to be. We look at a few things. We look at values, right? We look at, are you a person who can collaborate? Are you somebody who's creative? Are you somebody who will own the outcome, right? Sometimes when we speak with people, they are like, there are 10 people in the project, I did this, that person did this. That person could have done something different, the project would have been something different. We don't really hire those people, right? If you were a part of a project, own it, make it happen, right? Be creative to solve problems, right? So we look at a lot of different things. We also look at genuinity, Because we strongly believe if you are different outside work and if you're different at work, you will never be able to do your best at work. So in our research lab, we have people from MIT, Georgia Tech, right, Stan, right, so all of them, UCLA, so all of them come here and they work here, right, so it's a very good place to really see in terms of how people, and they work on deep things, right from even taking approval to put a sensor into your brain to understand different things and decode and help. So the work is really deep, right? And because we make products that way, right? And at the moment, our biggest struggle is that our products are so complex that, general users find it tough to use, right? Because these are meant for designers and creative folks. And now we are trying to make it a little bit more broad-based, right? So there's a lot of work happening in that particular space as well. I don't know how many of you have heard about Firefly? Yeah? Yeah, we have got 7 billion images created through Firefly. 7 billion. These are like people creating images out of Firefly, right? It's like you just write what you want and you create what you want, right? So it's just amazing in terms of how things are really moving. Yeah. Great. More questions?
If a company is hiring a hiring consultant, right? So what kind of things do they look and what do they see, like you solve this kind of problem? So I'm just curious that what kind of problems are really there?
So our problems are through a lens of, ultimately I want to make a product and I need people to make it. I want to understand existing people and what do I need to augment or complement to make a product happen, right? And getting there is often built on 4 different strategies. It's buy, which means what do I buy? Build, what do I build within the organization? Borrow, right? Which means how do I borrow somebody from an international geo to come and solve it, or move some people within the organization to make it happen? And the last is bot, B-O-T, which means can I use automation to solve the problem? But always for us, we're always looking at these 4 B's to understand if I have a people solution to solve for that. Got it?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Good question. And if you hear us answer and you're like, Acha, it didn't make sense, you should always ask, can you explain it further? Yeah.
I'll tell you one problem Mino solved for Adobe. When Mino joined in 2019, we were a small team of 38 people. Right now, we are almost 100 recruiters in the recruitment team of Adobe. So that's solving one problem for Adobe as well.
So you said you changes a lot of fields in your career. So it must have taken a long period of time in your life.
22 years.
So do you have any special views in that long period of time, like you could have used that time in just 1-2 fields? Any special views that in that long time?
You're saying I didn't use my time well, or?
No, I want to know what is your view, like how could you have used that time again if you have?
Oh, if I were to go back and use this time, I think one thing that I always, I think if it were me right now, I would have gone back to Dr. Shabir Merchant and asked him, why? I was doing the ACRE, Advanced Center for Research in Electronics. I was basically working on something called, I don't know if you know wavelet-based image transformation. I don't know if you learned that at all. Then 2003, it was used. And he said, you're not meant for research. And he said, you should not continue. And I just took it at face value and left. But I think I would have wanted to go back there and ask Shabir, why? Like, and I didn't even ask that question, why did you feel so, right? But having said that, I've got no qualms because I get to interact with a lot of people. And what I've realized in life is, my purpose is to inspire and my purpose is to help people be enabled to do something different. And I think I'm able to do that right now, right? There are things that I would love to do. For example, I did a little bit of assignment in a place called Warsaw and Lodz in Poland. I think I wasted 1.5 years of my life there, right? Because I didn't have to do much. It was just enjoying different churches and stuff and roaming around. I would have used it much better, right? I think at Wipro, I had multiple such stages where I was very comfortable and I would want to go back and learn a lot more. Like that learning was a little plateaued, tapered during that time. Adobe as well, I think See, right now I do a role which is very large. Like, globally I head strategy and operations for Adobe, right? So I've got teams across the globe, predominantly in North America. So I'm generally on my toes, always thinking, right? So if I'm not learning, if I'm not thinking, I think it's not a good use of my time. But largely okay. I mean, 22 saal chalana. Yeah. Thanks, Akshay. You want to ask the same question to him? I think you should.
Well, like I said in the beginning, right? When I look back at where I am right now, things have gone well for me. Right? There is, all of you will have a time in your future when you look back, you will be able to connect the dots. Right? It doesn't mean that right now it makes sense, but tomorrow it would make sense. Like talking from life experience, I was not always a university recruiter. I used to be in the lateral hiring, which is the experienced hiring team for Adobe. And in 2020, when Mino approached me asking, do you want to lead the university piece for Adobe? I initially said no because I wasn't sure. I had zero experience managing university hiring, interns, students, all of that. But then I took that leap of faith. And right now, when I look back, I'm very thankful to the company and Mino for reaching out to me because I enjoy what I do right now. Right. So if you ask me, is there something I could have done? No, nothing. I'm very content where I am right now. My passion of basketball, which I still play, I play every Tuesday and Thursday in this place called Play Arena. Right. So even though I wanted to have a career in basketball, I have a very good career right now. I still follow my passion. So yes, I'm good.
Yeah, thanks for that question, Sasha. Thank you. All right, there. And there. I think we'll give it to the ladies first.
We have a lot of questions now. It's good.
So my question is that you said that you hire internationally and from India also. So I just wanted to ask that what's the difference you see in the creativity that Indian undergrads, the approach they have to the projects and the people coming internationally?
Nanda, who is my head for research in India, I've been trying to crack with him that IIC ka banda या IIT Madras ka banda is as good as MIT or Boston. I mean, like anybody who comes from Georgia Tech or whatever. But he always says, no, there's a difference. And he says the difference is in terms of the ability to go deep, stay deep. Because in research, you don't have a product in mind, right? You don't have a product canvas, you're just researching. So your ability to go deep, deep, deep and research and stay with perseverance, at times we find Indians are a little restless. Because Indians have 1.4 billion people, no? Like ghar pe bhi 10-15 log hai. Like, you generally restless, abhi acha kare kya types, like I want to move from here till there, but I've got 10 people in between. In US, it's a little different. So one thing that we always believe is the ability to go deep in US is much higher than the ability to go deep in India. And hence research mindset mein thodi bahut dikkat aata hai. And somewhere in India, we believe we are happier doing more than doing less with perfection. Or research mein it doesn't work. Those are fundamentally two things that in US for example, you have students who learn for 10 years management, I have a friend of mine after engineering, he wanted to do management. So then he went to Paris, then he went to INSEAD. And after INSEAD, he went from INSEAD Singapore to Wharton for studying management. He was a very differently wired person. He's right now in a very top position. But generally, how does a person who from a top institute in India engineering do? CAT लिखेगा, 2 साल का IIM करेगा, उसके बाद start counting, right? But US is not like that. It's very different because they have that mindset towards why am I doing what am I doing, right? I want to do it not to get a placement, but I want to do it because I want to be the best at a job. That mindset has to tweak a little bit in India. And that's a very candid take that I want, because I've also worked abroad and I've seen people, that's why. Does it make sense? All right, Jerin, you want to add?
Yeah, and this mindset I was referring to, it may not be an immediate mindset differentiation that you can make. It might be mostly on the long run. Like if I hire a person from an international university, say not an Indian citizen, and I hire somebody from a tier 2 college in India. Both of them might be, because they go through the same process at Adobe, their internship project, which is 10 to 12 weeks, both of them will be doing great job. They might end up filing patents at Adobe as well. But 5 years, both of them, right, working in the same company, same team, data has shown us that the mindset that Minu mentioned, maybe the person from an international university mostly may end up contributing more, developing more, inventing more at Adobe, right? Adding, just because I'm talking about research, the research interns have a separate onboarding the next day at Adobe, and the first slide says, interns at Adobe do not make coffee, we file patents, right? Which is actually true. 40% of patents filed at Adobe are work done by interns. This is globally 40%, right?
And Adobe has the highest patent to employee ratio across the world, right? So we are very deep research, product, solve a problem, right? And that's the way Shantanu is as well. He's a product. His general philosophy is, our products are amazing, I don't need salespeople. It should just go off the shelf, which is not true. You still need salespeople. But the whole emphasis is make a product so good that it goes off the shelf very easily.
So, I wanted to know, what is the hiring process?
I was actually waiting for someone to ask this question. Okay, so like I mentioned, every year we host around 400 interns at Adobe for summer internship, which is 10 to 12 weeks. Where do we hire from? We hire from some set of campuses that we go to on yearly basis. We have a very good relationship with the campus. We've seen that the students there. So these are IITs, NITs, triple ITs, top colleges in India. We also have our offline hiring programs, women hiring program, which is She Codes. Mino mentioned that earlier. We go to women colleges specifically to hire women from there. We have our diversity programs where we hire students from PWD category and the LGBTQIA plus community as well. So what about students who don't come in the top school or are not part of any of these communities? We are now launching a hackathon, an all India hackathon. It's called Gen Solve. All of you will get to know about it. We do not right now have a criteria in terms of which year you need to be to apply for the hackathon. The winners will definitely get a chance at Adobe. And we also participate in a lot of college-wide tech fests, like the Inter-IIT Tech Meet. We do design challenges in some of the campuses. So that's where students who are outside these categories that I mentioned or hiring sources that I mentioned get a chance to be at Adobe. All of them go through a test initially, then there are technical interviews. That's it. And then they join us. We usually hire students when they are in the third year of engineering.
And do you all see the resume first? What all are the things in the resume mentioned?
The business looks at it. Let's say we do a test in a campus. If let's say I go to IIT Bombay, one of our very frequent campuses that we go to, I get around 350 applications who are eligible, and they all go through the test. A lot of times we see that students score very high. So how do you then start shortlisting people? We have a business looking at the projects they've done, right? Right now, everybody is tending towards Gen AI, ML, right? So we look at projects where students have done any projects on AI, ML, Gen AI if they have. And then they get a little edge than the others. Again, like I said, your marks, we look at not very strictly, but we also look at your CGPA, your test scores, and then your interviews with the technical.
Okay, so CGPA matters.
I wouldn't say I would reject.
If you're not studying, you should study now. If you're not studying properly, you should study now.
That's what you are like.
Is that what you're hinting towards?
No, I wanted to know that CGPA matters or skills matter more.
What is an indicator of, for example, right now if you're a student, what is your job?
What?
What is your job as a student?
Studying.
What is your appraisal on your studies? Where does the key indicator come out?
My scores. Okay, but suppose
I like DSA and then I don't like web dev. Because of web dev, I'll get low CGR. So, does like then how will you differentiate?
You don't like a subject doesn't mean you should not score in that. These are two exclusive sets. See, even in my engineering, I did not like signals and systems. I just didn't like that subject. But I still scored in that subject because my not liking or liking is an exclusive set to this. You got what I'm saying? So it's very important that you, because ultimately, like he said, your marks matter. I'm not saying that is the only thing that matters, but it matters. Aapka resume matters. So don't just make a resume for the hell saying, suddenly placement coordinator bola abhi resume bana do. And you're like, acha theek hai, like you can't do all this stuff. So there are certain, and you know what? The fact that you have decent marks, the fact that your resume is thought through, also shows up on your maturity. How seriously you take life. You getting what I'm saying? So always focus, and this is to everybody, not just her, not just Riya, but I think there is, if what you don't like, you're finding it tough to learn, like, I don't like it, and I'm not able to learn it because my mind just does not unlock, for that subject. You'll have to find a little bit of inspiration from somewhere.
You know the story of like why you didn't score so high marks in a certain subject, right? But does the recruiter in Adobe or any other company know the story? No. So is it easy for me to look at somebody with a 9 CGPA and say, let's say yours is around 7.8 and both of you scored the same marks in the test? Is it easy for me to...
Suppose somebody has scored by by copying or cheating or something. Like, if suppose, and then someone, they have scored high grades, and then someone has not scored high grades, but they are all...
Aap kahan se ho? Like, where did you do your schooling from? Where did you do your schooling from?
Karnataka.
We work we work with the best assessment partners in the world. There are a lot of proctoring.
Strengthen that further. But I think I understand what you're saying. Like, मार्क मिल गया बंदे को, अभी सीट भी मिल गया इंटरव्यू देने के लिए, लेकिन बंदे को कुछ पता ही नहीं है टाइप्स.
और जिसको पता है उसको नहीं मिला.
I know it's I don't know how to solve that problem. Do you have a solution for that? Think about it. Hit me up on LinkedIn and say, I've got a solution for this. You'll do that? But it's a good problem to solve because ultimately you get a false positive and a false negative. I want to reduce my false negative and I want to reduce also my false positive. Make sense? Yes. Yeah, but you have a point. Thanks, Riya.
Hello, sir. My name is Satish, and it means one who is loved by Shiva.
Again, deep again.
So,
see.
On the hiring question again, so you must have looked at many profiles. What is the general profile that makes you like, man, this is the man I want to hire?
Man? वो man लिखेगा ना रेज्यूमे, वो हायर ही नहीं होगा. Like, I am the man.
What are the attributes for different someone from college and someone who is applying from off campus? The difference between them?
I think Jerin, you should answer that question.
Again, how much of the DSA is a highlighting feature there, and what amount of projects do you expect?
Like I said, right, in the beginning, we don't have a different hiring process for someone from college or someone applying through any of the offline programs we have. We don't really take that call looking at a resume that, okay, this is, like you said, this is the man that we need to hire. What we have are different hiring criterias, which one is our test in the beginning, and then we have our interviews with our technical team. That is where we look at potential of every candidate that's coming in. We hire for potential for most of the roles. Skills, yes, as well. So that interview and then your experience in the projects that you have done, right? How much are you able to articulate about the work you have done? We don't expect a lot from a third year student. When we actually interview them, they are in their second year. They come for internship when they complete the second year and their third year, right? how much do you expect from a student to be technically strong at the second year? What we really look at is how well are you articulating about your project. And then most of our technical panels ask follow-up questions on the projects they have done. And then how are they able to solve a problem there? How is the thought process there? That's what we look at. We don't really go technical deep on are you able to answer technical questions, right?
Just to add, like, thanks, Jerin, for that. We love people who hustle, right? How do you bring your hustle out on a resume? I'm asking you a question. Think through, right? That's one point. The second is, how do you show that you're a hustler but an objective hustler? Like, you don't always have your hands up catching butterflies, but you know which butterfly to go after, right? Clarity. So if your resume reads like you are doing multiple things along with your studies, and you are solving problems because your project seems to have a very clear problem statement, the role you played, how you collaborated, and the impact you've created. If you can narrate it in that way, do you think your profile will stand out? It will, right? So because you are not in the room to tell it, but when somebody reads your profile, they'll be like, "Acha, banda hustler hai." बंदे में प्रॉब्लम इम्पैक्ट की बहुत गहमिया है. You understand that, गहराई is pretty deep, like you're thinking in that direction, right? Bring those things out.
Like, not the easy way, like just cloning some.
No, don't ever do that, like senior का resume लेके यहाँ वहाँ कुछ change करके, don't ever do that. Never do that. But put your heart into your resume, because I also believe one thing, when you make your resume with your heart, it's also a self-assessment of sort, if you're honest. It'll actually tell you, because you're articulating what you have done till now, it'll tell you, Satish, काम है, लगे रहो. Like, and it'll tell you that. But if you were to copy something and just put it up, you'll be like, acha, theek hai, it's not important. Again, if you're writing your resume well, seriousness, maturity, the fact that you're taking this serious is so important for me. If I get a profile, frankly, and that's the way I assess people on my team. What do I look for? I look for passion. I look for an innate sense of humility and thankfulness. Like, if I counter you, do you have the intellectual humility to accept my point? It really matters to me. Do you have an innate sense of gratitude? Like small things, you are thankful. Like today morning I woke up, somebody gave me a glass of tea. That made my life. I really love it. When I hear these kind of things, it matters to me, right? Do you have passion? I've hired so many people on my team who are not passionate into HR. Some are passionate about fashion. Some are passionate about photography. But I know if you're passionate about something, I can always move that passion towards HR. But these are important things to me, right? So I kind of, if somebody writes, if he's a hustler, she's a hustler, it matters to me. Because I need hustlers here. I don't want people who are very happy with what they have, right? Sukhat Jeevan, just stay where you are, right? Because we are here to damn solve problems. And we have so many problems to solve. Trust me on that. Yeah? Make sense?
So my question is around the recruiting process.
All there. He's a master. He's a head for that. Yeah.
The question for both of you. While interviewing a person, what do you look into the person for the job?
I thought I answered that question.
Is it the experience or it's just the curiosity? Because the question for this, because I'm curious to get into everything. Like everything happens in every project. Like I want to be the part of everything. So do you see that while interviewing the process, or just you see the person who sticks to one project and builds along with it and builds experience to it?
See, from a university perspective, we don't look at people with experience, right? It's all freshers. That's where we really look at what projects they have done, and we look at potential there, right? Potential for the future as well. In the project, how was the contribution? Right? Were you just part of a project where 10 people were part of, and you were just there? Right? The technical team will be able to understand that when they ask you follow-up questions. Everybody will be comfortable to answer. Tell me about your project. That's you wake you up in your sleep. Also, you might be ready to give me that answer, right? What do you do in your project? Follow-up questions. That's where a technical team from Adobe or any other company will be able to understand what you have done, how much invested were you in the project. in terms of technical or in terms of the commitments there. So that's what we look at, right? To answer that from an experienced hiring point, maybe Minu, if you want to add.
Yeah, and yeah. See, it's okay to be curious, but ultimately own the outcome and solve a problem, and then curiosity takes you to the next one, which is perfectly fine. But if you are like any big leader, ask them, anyone, they say $1 for the idea and $99 for the execution. Execution is a different muscle. Trust me on that. All of us can think great ideas. And this is something I always believe. Idea, we are at best using 2% of our brain. कोई समझो कि 2.2% यूज कर दिया, उसके तो आइडियाज एकदम टॉप क्लास करेगा, राइट? बट अगर to execute something, you also need to know how to work with people, which is not a skill that everybody has. You also need to know how to be assertive, how to influence people, how to get what you want to get out of it, right? There's a lot of people skills that come into it, which is important. Well, ultimately, it's people that make things. There is IT, there is everything, there is AI, everything, but the root denominator in supply chain, we call it stock keeping unit, is people. SKU is people. So that ability is so important, and that you learn in your college, right? When you're working on projects, if your general thought process, अच्छा ये बंदे से काम करना तो मुश्किल है, let us three do it, and in the end we will also tell it to our teacher that that person was on the project but did not do anything. Right? I mean, you can always take that approach. But if I'm a part of it, I would say, let's get Jerin along. Right? How can I motivate Jerin to be a part of it? It's very important. Make sense? All right. Thank you so much. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I was telling somebody, the last time I came to Electronic City was in 2014. This is like what, 6-10 years back, right? So it was always good to get back because I had a Wipro office somewhere here, and I still remember walking in there and stuff. And so it's always very nostalgic. I love interacting with, as I call, kids, right? I mean, I like interacting with all of you because I don't know how to explain, but I have a deep sense of concern about the next generation. And I think education, healthcare is not something that's getting focused on enough, right? So to that extent, I work a lot amongst general primary children in government schools and stuff. So I really like to understand how are you thinking, right? Because it gives me a sense of how is the generation going to go, right? India's biggest advantage has been the fact that we have people. We have a young population. But just imagine a scenario if AI takes over and people become agnostic, right? Where would India stand? Because what is our biggest strength? The fact that we are the youngest population. Consumerism होगा, लेकिन कहीं से तो कुछ लेके भी आना पड़ेगा types. We are not an agrarian economy, right? IT still gives us 24% of our GDP, right? So I want to be sure that all of us are inspired to do things because we are brilliant.
Before joining Adobe, I worked in HP, which is right here, for almost 2 years. So I personally was very happy to come this way. I used to come on my bike every day to HP, and I loved the campus there. Huge campus, lot of space, lot of they had a basketball team, and I used to play for them as well. But thanks for asking this question. This is us. This is how Mino is in office. This is how I am in office. One of our values is to be genuine, and we take that everywhere we go, not just the 9 to 5 office hours that we do. This is how Mino and we are, and we are very happy to see that all of you are comfortable now talking to us. And I work with interns and university graduates on a daily basis, and I love doing this. More than happy if our answers to your questions has helped you. If that helps you have a better career, we're more than happy. Right? Yeah. Pleasure is ours.
And do hit us up on LinkedIn, ask your questions.
Oh yes, do connect.
Ask
to
your
us
questions, whatever you have. We are more. I mean, we wouldn't respond immediately, but whenever we get time, we would love to interact and help you.
It's very easy to connect to Mino in LinkedIn because the spelling is Mino. You wouldn't find many people that spelling and name. And I'm wearing the exact same. The photo of mine in LinkedIn is the exact same. Yes, actually, I was also wondering. And the same beard as well. So yeah, connect to us. keep in touch. Ask, like Minu said, right? Ask us questions. If it is technical questions, we'll have someone from the Adobe team answer it. Me and Mino may not be, at least I am not a very
Neither
techie
am I,
person to answer all your questions. And I also want all of you to explore Firefly. It's an amazing product, recently launched by Adobe. It's almost a year. We recently just celebrated 1 year of it. Firefly. The vision of Adobe as a company, can sit. The vision of Adobe as a company is to enable creativity for everyone. Right? Not everybody would be able to go to Photoshop and create something they want. But through Firefly, if you want, you just have to type what you want, and Firefly actually generates it for you. Like, initially when Adobe was about to launch the product, the employees were asked to test how it works, right? We keep getting that. Any new feature comes to the employees first. They ask us to test it, ask us to type all random things possible, and to understand what the AI, the generative AI, generates there, right? And then give feedback so the backend team can improve on it. So I typed, it's quite funny, I typed cat playing football underwater. And there was an image immediately within 3 to 5 seconds that was created. That's how cool Adobe's Firefly is. And there's a new feature in Photoshop called generative fill. Right? Say a picture of mine and Minu, click now. I go to Adobe Office, one of you send it to me. I didn't like the background. Sorry, I'm just making this. If I didn't like the background, I can just choose me and Minu and then type in the generative fill space saying change background to Taj Mahal. And then immediately, like in 2 seconds.
Why would you want to sit with me next?
Right? So explore that as well. Right? All these options, and follow a couple of YouTube pages. There's Adobe Creative Cloud, Adobe Max, Adobe Live. All these YouTube channels, if you subscribe, there are very frequent videos that's uploaded by the team, which talks about products of Adobe, new features of Adobe, all of that, which are very interesting. Adobe is doing a lot of work in the generative AI field as well. So please follow all of that. It'll be good for you to understand about Adobe more.
Yeah, I agree. And a few people as well. Like, I don't know if you heard about a guy called Scott Belsky. Oh, yeah. But great guy to follow. I mean, just get onto LinkedIn. If you're thinking about being a product leader, product manager, follow him. And he's got something called Implications. He's the one who actually made a product called Behance. I don't know how many of you are into fashion. Anybody here who's passionate about it? I'm also an investor, so I've got a lot of investment in different companies and a lot into fashion. So he actually made something called Behance. And he's like what? A 44-year-old guy, but he rolls into Shantanu. Like a very, very smart guy. So please do go ahead and follow him. He's a great guy. So you get some sense around things. Can I miss his name? Scott Belsky. Scott, SCOTTPELSKY. It's a great guy.
Yeah, he has his own podcast as well.
It's called Implications. I mean, just kind of go through it. Yeah.
Question is like, we have been hearing that we should be honest when we are giving the answers in the interview. Is it really like that? Should we be answering questions, answers that are pleasing to the ears or hearts but honest?
Be honest about your work, but be tactful about answers. Be honest about your work. Like, don't state something which you have not done. That is a clear no. Because, see, I've been interviewing people for a very long time, right? The moment you sit down next to me, I'll realize what it is, types, but give your answers tactfully. Like, for example, do you like Adobe? Do you like the products of Adobe? Even if you don't, so don't say no, you don't like. You got to know. I mean, there you cannot be blatantly honest. Right? You have to say, you know what, I love it, but I also believe Adobe could do a lot more in terms of being much more accessible to not just the super creator, but even the rest. People will be like, oh, wow. And I want to be a part of it to make that happen, right? Because I believe creativity should not rest with 10%, but with 100%. See, that's like a killer statement. You're understanding what I'm saying? Like, you're not being completely dishonest, but you're not being completely honest as well. Yeah. I'm not saying that, you should not be honest in life. That's very important, but be tactful. Make sense, right?
Yes, and always remember the interviewer knows more than you. Always, right? So you take that risk of being dishonest. Somewhere you're going to fail, get caught, right? Always go with the mindset that the person at the other end knows, say, 10 times more than you. So be honest, like Mino said, be very confident about the work you have done and tactical answers. Do you like Adobe? Even if you don't, why would you say no to an Adobe interview? Right?
But some people say, I don't like them.
So how much you should be honest is a question there. That you should be wise there.
Yeah, you should be wise. Yeah. Does it help your answer? Yeah, question. Yeah, that's great. All right. Oh, more questions. Okay. All right, let's go there. Yeah, I get a sense like your name's like mine for some reason. I don't know why. Yeah. Oh, sorry, he was already there. Yeah. Huh?
My name is Shivansh.
Out of Shiva?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Meaning?
Ansh means
A part of Shiva.
Yeah. Ansh has many different meanings. Like it may be referred as part. It may be referred as son, progeny. So it can be anything.
Oh, very deep. आपका क्वेश्चन भी इतना डीप होगा क्या?
No, I just wanted to know कि like if I work at Adobe, like for let's say internship also, so what are range of projects I will work on?
Good question.
What our interns do is maybe create a prototype for a product already. Like I mentioned, the Adobe Scan Android version was created by them. Interns did a lot of work on the generative fill feature on Photoshop as well. So that's a lot of AI ML work there. What does the MBA interns do? They do a lot of market research and then understand can any product of Adobe also have a AI ML enhancement or even Gen AI enhancement so that the Adobe as a company can power their enterprise customers more. Like for example, Nike. Everything you see in Nike is powered by Adobe. Disney. There are a lot of movies made by Adobe using Adobe products, right? Deadpool. I am a big Marvel superhero fan, so Deadpool movie completely made out of Adobe. Avatar, the movie, right? James Cameron made it completely using Adobe. So interns, it's a 10-week self-contained program they do, like a mini, can even call it a mini course that they go through, where they work on, like I mentioned, enhancing a product or even exploring the scope of including any new feature to a already built product, right? That's what interns do. And like I mentioned earlier, 40% of patents at Adobe are filled by interns. And our interns don't make coffee, they file patents.
When our interns come on board, we actually don't hire from external at the same time. Which means the work that an intern does is pretty much similar to a work that an experienced person does. Because we trust interns so much, right? Even Shantanu gets to meet the interns. Like, he comes, spends time with the interns. Like, and that's the amount of importance that we give because एक तो process इतना tough है. Like, I mean, it's not like very, very tough, but like I said, out of 80,000 people, we select 200. Right? And we invest as well. Like, along with the stipend, there are lots and lots of things that we do and we convert. Like this year, we converted 84% of our interns. Like, out of the interns that we hire, because we believe that's our best route of hiring, right? And we pay pretty okay as well. Like, so, so it's taken very, very seriously. So your work is very, very serious and you end up doing stuff which will always make your learning good. Yeah.
Just to add that, how many of you have heard about Adobe Max conference?
You should see that.
Yeah, you should go to YouTube. There's Adobe Max YouTube channel there. But what Adobe Max is all about, it's a creativity conference, right? That's a place where Adobe every year hosts it in Las Vegas. Adobe Max showcases new developments for each of its product, new features, all of that is there in Adobe Max, and around 15,000 people, creative artists around the world gather there for Adobe Max. Some of the employees also get selected to attend. There was an intern named Prerna. I don't know if you know about this. She interned with us in 2021. I think it was a virtual internship because of COVID at that time. She joined Adobe full time on 2022. She worked on a feature in Adobe Photoshop, and which actually was a great success. And she was invited to Adobe Max, and she presented that feature in front of 10,000 people that day. Right? That's how important the work of an intern and when they join full time is for Adobe. we take internship very seriously. Like Mino said, we put a lot of effort in hiring interns, and then instead of converting them, we actually convert them. We don't go to the campus instead of converting them. We don't hire new people from the campus. For the last couple of years, we haven't been doing that. We hire interns and we look at converting maximum number of them. And like Minu mentioned, 84% got converted. This year we are hosting 340 interns, and we will have a healthy number from there as well.
It's a good place to work. I mean, I'm not doing any marketing stunt. It's a good place to work.
Genuinely, yes.
I worked for 22 years of my life, and I can say what is good and what is not good. I think it's way too employee centric, which I'm trying to change a little. I'm like, itna bhi employee centric mat ho types. Like I'm a part of a team which is called employee experience, right? We don't call ourselves HR because we believe experience matters. So we are like hell bent in terms of ensuring that everybody that comes on board into Adobe should be given an experience where experience is on the crown and not on the scaffold, right? And we take that very seriously. So it's a good company to work for. Great values, culturally very strong, technically pretty good, very creative folks. Good leadership team. It's also a company that is evolving and trying to find itself, which means both ambiguous. Like, if you like being in a place where, you're told A, B, C, D, E, F, G, not the place. So that is the one drawback at the moment. Like it's a hustling community where, you have to do something, which is beautiful in one way or the other, but it's also negative if you want everything written on a paper and told, like ye kar aaj kal ye kar types. Yeah?
I'm in my 8th year in Adobe, and at times I joke with my manager that I might retire in Adobe as well. So that's how good company Adobe is. And we have this Adobe Live terminology that we use, where it's for everybody. It's Adobe for all, wherever you are from. And it resonates with most of us. Adobe Life matters a lot. I spend 8 hours every day in office, which is for the last 8 years. Saturdays and Sundays not. But so Adobe is family now. Adobe is part of even my wife, name is Deepa. She knows everybody in office. Right? Yeah. So and she keeps coming to office. Your guests are welcome to office. We have an open door policy at Adobe. So a good place to be. Company is doing well in terms of Gen AI also. So technically also we are doing great.
I don't know why you're selling Adobe, but just yeah, under the table types, like give it up for types. Your question was nothing about Adobe, but just I didn't do it, he did it. Yeah. All right. One more question.
Yes, it's basically you talked about what qualities one should have. I also want to specify like what skill set also, because and also what future skill set you are looking in.
You go to any conference, you go to any meeting, people just can't, like here also, like I might have mentioned Gen AI and AI like 100 times. And that's what is buzzing right now. That is the go-to skill right now.
If you're solid good in your general code language as well, like C, C++, but if you can do it really well, even that matters. Absolutely, because a lot of our products are built on C, C++, right? So even that matters, right? But like we said, thoda hustle dikha, right? Thoda creativity dikha, thoda seriousness dikha. Like, just prove that point that, you are here to. I don't know how you guys know, how much you guys know, but when people go from India to foreign universities to study, before they go to a foreign university, they do something called APs. Do you know that? It's like advanced in whatever, like advanced physics, advanced math, and they get credit points. Now, you know what you do with that credit point? The moment you go to US, you don't have to write that semester on that particular subject. So you save like 6 months, 8 months, 10 months. You don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. But that is called hustle, right? And that matters. Make sense? All right. And I think all of you should get a little bit more broad-based in terms of your knowledge. Just read a lot more, right? I do like around 50 books in a year, reading, right? Which means typically every week, and my house is house full. Like I've got a 14-year-old daughter, and I've got a 4-year-old son. Son is like, the moment I get back home, he's going to be on top of me saying, Papa, play Jungle with me. Papa, play whatever games it's called, like, pick up truck with me and stuff and all. But I don't have a reason not to read. So I wake up in the morning at 4. I do my reading until 5:30 in the morning. And then I work, right? I also have my life. It's not like, I'm a very serious guy. You would have noticed it. I do a lot of other stuff. But hustle. Yeah? Books. I can give you a long list of it. Start with Atomic Habits. And read the Outliers. I don't know if you've read Outlier. But take these two books, Atomic Habits and Outlier, and just start with that. It will get you intrigued into a lot of different things in life. Yeah? All right.
I personally struggle with reading. So, if you are someone like me, don't start with a very heavy book because you will lose interest very soon. So, start with something
But not
light.
with Tintin as well. He means
Not comics.
not comics.
Right? And what you can also try is audiobooks. If you're not someone who can sit and read, spend time there, try listening to books. Right? Audiobooks helps. Summaries helps. Podcasts help.
Because the more you listen or the more you read, the more you know. Right? Sometimes we have this problem of, I understood the question, I also know what to respond, but I don't know how to articulate. Right? That only gets solved when you write. A well-read person is a person who knows a lot of things, but a well-written person is an articulate person. I write. And hence, if you ask me a question, my ability to articulate an answer is much higher because I read and I write. So I would encourage each one of you to pick up that skill of reading and writing along with all that you do. And don't come back to me and say, time nahi mere paas. Right? Sabke paas time hai. Prioritize karo. Right? I just want to tell this short story. I was coming in from Mysore to Bangalore and in a flight, and I had this guy sitting right next to me. So I was sitting on the window. There was a guy sitting right next to me by the name Karthik, and then a lady sitting on the aisle. He looks at me and says, sir, can I take the window seat? Which means now I have to sit on the middle seat. I'm a pretty broad guy. I was like, but I don't know what. That guy had a beautiful smile on his face. I said, okay, sit down. He sat on the window seat and I sat between the lady and this guy. The lady had a hard time. The plane took off and he's looking out of the window so curiously looking out of the window. And then after some time he looks at me and says, sir, my name is Karthik. I'm like, thank you. Right? Then he said, sir, I'm a student at SJC in Mysore. And then I said, okay, great. Then he said, sir, I built a prototype of a plane. And I wanted to see how an actual plane is because it's my first time in a flight. So, you feel like you did something good in life types, the plane takes over and then he says, sir, I'm going to Bangalore. From there, I'm going to Delhi for taking place in the Commonwealth Games for rifle shooting. And then I was like, wow, I also helped a person who was getting there. Then he said one line which stuck with me for life. He said, sir, everybody in my college has a bullet, right? But I have my rifle. I have my rifle. वो बंदे का focus. That statement has stayed with me for years and years. Banda could have also taken a bullet and roamed around with ladies, right? But he was focused in his life, right? He was not out there to get a girl. He was out there because he had focus on his, and not just rifle shooting, he also built a prototype of a plane. पैसा नहीं था उसके पास बहुत, right? This is the first time he's climbing on a flight. But he had that intellectual humility, innate sense of gratitude, curiosity, and focus. Build on these things, your life will change. Does it make sense? Yeah. All right. Any more questions? Are we good? I don't want to bore you guys, but hit me up on LinkedIn.
Yes, right.
Yeah. Write to us and write to Jerin a lot more, right? I mean, he's like a good guy. He gives you good answers. I'll give you philosophical answers. But if you want to reach out to me just in terms, I'm also a coach. Like if you want help around just your life, around things like, I want to get this sorted out. How do I bloody get this done? Right? I can help you out with those kind of things as well. But it's been such a privilege and an honor to be here. And thank you for bearing with me and with Jerin. I hope it was good for each one of you. It was really good for me, Jerin.
Same here. Though we go for different conferences, different talks, it's the first time I'm sharing the stage with Mino. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having us. Thanks to all of you for listening to us as well. And good luck. Right? Thank you. Bye-bye.